Right, we're good to go.
All right.
Welcome to
Thank
another
you.
episode of the Game of Life podcast. I'm thrilled today to be joined by photographer and filmmaker Mike, aka North Borders,
Hello, nice to be here.
the best photographer that's ever.
No, don't
lived.
glaze it.
No, no.
That's okay. Good to be here.
Yeah, now we were talking quite a bit before we started recording today, but
Yeah.
you've just recently got back from overseas. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right. Yeah, I was in Poland.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I started in Tasmania for a different job, and then I went to Poland, and then to England, and then to Sydney for another event, and now I'm back home. So,
How do you feel once you get back from home from a job?
yeah, I just spread eagle, jump onto the bed. It's probably the first thing I do. Relieved, I guess, in a sense that we did it all. We survived. We got all the footage home safely.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing that I just started to worry about as I get older. It's like I worry about hard drives and data and corrupting and things like that. So I also brought along my filmer. His name's Lamont. So he was also with me. So I wanted to make sure he was on a separate flight home. So make sure he gets home safe. He's also got all the data and stuff on his laptop. So I want to make sure that data gets home safe. So
It's funny
there's
how
other
much
things.
admin is involved in doing what you do,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely. There's a lot of data, terabytes of data that we filmed on that trip. So yeah, just making sure it all got home safely and we could continue editing, because otherwise it would have been, obviously we make backups and stuff, but you can only do so much sometimes when you're traveling and it takes time. So as soon as we get home, everything's back, make a huge backup of everything and then get editing basically.
Have you ever lost anything?
Touch wood, not really.
yet.
I've only got one horror story, which is when I used to work for a car dealership years and years ago. I'm sorry if they're listening right now and they hear this, because I completely lied to them about where the data happened and what happened.
Oh, so they haven't heard this?
No, they actually haven't heard this,
Yeah.
so I won't name them and say where I used to work, but they used to have a wholesaling area, because it was usually very nice cars that we were mainly dealing with.
All right.
But one of the managers from a separate business that was sort of, they had an umbrella sort of business, so it was wholesaling cars, so just everyday cars, minivans, work utes, all that kind of stuff, and they wanted just a nice photo of the wholesaling, and they just brought a bunch of the nicer premium cars to shoot it out the front of their wholesaling area. And it took me most of the afternoon. I got on ladders and we took heaps of crazy angles and all these sort of shots. And then I got back to my dealership where I usually work and then shot some more photos there, transferred those ones, forgot to get the other ones off and formatted my card. And then I didn't know. Now there's formatting softwares where you can go back and get footage, but I didn't know that at the time. And they're like, can't wait to see the photos. And I was like, you wouldn't believe this, but my SD card corrupted and I don't have any of the shots.
Nice save.
So ever since then, that sort of taught me a lesson with, being safe with data and making sure I've got it all backed up. Yeah.
At what point in your career as a photographer could you safely say call yourself a photographer?
That's an interesting question. At what point could I say I am a photographer? Well, I guess I was around cameras when I was a lot younger. My mum used to work for a clothing brand, a big clothing brand, and she was like an editorial director. So she would make sure all the photo shoots went to plan. She would always bring me along when I was younger to modeling shoots, things like that. So I was always around cameras. And she obviously had a lot of cameras as well that she just brought home, all the old VCR cameras, the ones that take the big tapes and stuff, any small little digital cameras. So I was always sort of around it, and then ended up getting a job at the dealership, which I didn't even know how to shoot cars. I've always been interested in cars, but I had no idea. On my first day there, I just got the job because I just walked in and was interested in cars, taking some few photos just for fun. And then I met the general manager. And he was like, oh, hey, I actually need someone to run our social media. You look like a nice kid. Do you want to have the job? And I was like, oh, okay, I'll do it. And then that's sort of how I got the job there. And then made sure that I was like, okay, if I'm not going to get fired, I'm actually going to keep my job. I'm going to make sure my work is good, my quality is good. So I focused on that for a few years and then decided I wanted to do more YouTube sort of stuff. I was just filming all the behind the scenes of my photo shoots, but I would still say I was at an intermediate level then. But I guess at the same time, you could say as soon as I got the job at the dealership, and then about 6 months later, I became full time there. I was at high school at the time. I was 16, And when I turned
So you
17,
started fairly early.
I didn't go to university. I didn't finish high school. I just got a job, and I was like, isn't that the whole point of going to university to get a job? So I've already got a job. Why do I need to go to university?
Yeah.
That was like my mentality at the time. And so I guess you could say from then on, I was a photographer. Like I could consider myself a photographer, but I was still learning a lot. There was a lot to learn compared to what I know now and how I run my do my photography and do my photo shoots and just do what I do. There's obviously a huge difference between when I started and to now. But yeah, I would say when I first sort of started working at the dealership and started to understand how to use my camera, and I was working with my camera rather than just standing trying to figure it out.
Right.
I guess at that stage I was like, I guess I'm a photographer now. Yeah.
When you were at the dealership, can you remember the first instance in which someone said, "Oh, hey, good job. These look amazing"?
Yeah, actually, shout out to my old boss, Sean Baker. He runs a dealership now called YTG. He was my boss, or who I reported to, and I always like to get sort of creative. We had a lot of glass around the dealership area, and they obviously wanted just dealer photos to put on car sales or whatever website, you know. But I also wanted to make sure the Instagram looked different to just car sale photos. So he always encouraged me to be creative. And I remember one day getting a drone because I was just interested. That was back when they had the Phantom. I'm not sure if you're into drones.
Yeah.
It's a big Phantom with the handlebars on it and everything take up all the space in your backpack. I really wanted one of those, and I ended up getting one and getting these cool drone shots of the cars. And Sean, he loved that. He was like, yeah, Mike, we do the fucking drone shot on every single car now. we want the drone shot. And then we saw other dealerships starting to copy the drone shot. And then he was furious about that. That was like our signature style move or something. So the way we photographed our car is to get like a straight overhead of it. And he really was just so ecstatic about that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was great.
Is it a fairly difficult thing for a photographer if they're interested in cars and working for car dealerships? I mean, you there was a lot of luck involved with you getting that job, right? If you were to start now without having that experience, is it a hard thing to break into working for car dealerships or just cars in general as a photographer?
Yeah, that's car dealerships. I mean, how it worked for me, just all I can say is my experience, really.
Yeah.
How it worked for me is I literally walked in because I was interested in it. I thought it was a museum. This
place.
So I just thought it was a museum. I called up and I said, hey, how much is entry for the car museum? They're like, this is a dealership kid, like fuck off kind of thing. But so obviously I just took that as I can walk in and walk around and stuff. So I went in, and that's when I was taking photos, being very respectful, you know, like not making sure I'm not touching the cars. And that's the biggest thing. Like don't walk in somewhere and pretend that you own the joint or something. Because like you see that at car shows as well, like people opening doors and like putting their kids in car. Like don't touch someone else's car. Like don't touch anyone's anything. Like just don't touch it if it's not yours, you know. So being respectful in that way. And then the general manager saw that I was like sort of taking some photos, and they had just moved to that area where they were. So they were in a different part of Melbourne. They'd just moved to this new building, and the way I found it was on my train line back home from school. So I will always go past it, and there's all of a sudden there's this F40 Ferrari in there, and you know this beautiful Lamborghini, and all different types of cars in there. A lot of classic cars. And that's when I walked in and just started taking some photos. And then that's when the general manager approached me and was like, hey, we need someone to run social media. So back then that would have been 2015, 2016.
Right.
So obviously a lot of brands now I find are really pushing social media. This is where they're like, social media is the new billboards. We need to get onto social media. And a lot of brands now, post-COVID even, are like really serious about social media. Whereas back in 2016, not many people took it that seriously for a brand and a business.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the luck involved where I walked in and right time, right place. And it so happened that Sean, the general manager who spoke to me, was switched on enough to ask me that, hey, this kid's young. He probably knows about social media. We need that. We can get him to do it because he obviously understood what the potential was with social media. And so I came in again to actually do an interview. And I brought back the photos to him. I think this is what he wanted with the initiative because he originally wrote his email down But I think he sort of scribbled it like a doctor's handwriting sort of thing. Gave me his email on a sticky note, and it was like, "Can you send the photos here?" And I was like trying to send him the photos, but it wasn't working. So I actually just went in like a few days later or the next week with a USB, and I was like, "Here's the photos." And I think he appreciated that initiative that I took to come back in and make sure that he got the shots, even though, you know, he didn't promise me anything at that stage. But then he was like, that's when he actually offered me a job.
Yeah.
I think he saw that initiative and was like, okay, maybe we're onto something here. Maybe you can actually run the social media. So it wasn't just as simple as walking into a place and expecting to get work.
Yeah, yeah.
But then again, I was at a different stage of life. I was a teenager. I wasn't really I was just sort of mouth breathing. And like, you know, shocked at this place where if I was to do it again now, I would walk into a dealership with more of an agency mentality saying, hey, your social media sucks. We can do it this way. We can get the filmer down. We can get the editor down. We can do advertising. We can do your Facebook ads. We can do everything. You know what I mean? I'd probably look at it from that perspective now, but it doesn't mean it's not possible, because there's always a business or a brand. Doesn't mean if it's car dealerships or a cafe or a clothing brand that needs more social media presence, maybe doesn't know what they're doing in some areas.
Right.
And if you can come in and help them, you know, content creators that have never been more useful right now. If you can know how to use a camera or film, you've never become like more useful ever. Like now.
It's so funny that you say that, because I have a tendency to notice social media more for, you know, cafes, businesses, because I've started working with a videographer to help sell people's businesses to create little reels for their social media, right? And I notice it way more than I ever used to before. So you are right. Like, there is a need for it out there. Like, everyone, anywhere has a need for it.
Everyone wants to get on social media now and just grow that, because they're like, this is where I can make sales.
Right.
This is where I can get leads even. This is where more people are going to see me, more eyes on my business equals more sales. So and ultimately, that's what every business wants. Doesn't matter what, even if it's non-for-profit, people want eyes on their business, you know? So, and to get that, there's three things you're always going to need: photography, filmmaking, and graphic design. Right. So I know we spoke earlier about AI. Maybe if you want to get into that, maybe that's a bit later or whatever, but
absolutely.
But still, to an extent, you know, you're at the moment, at least, when the iron's hot and it's not hot for long, just strike, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So going back to your original question about, is it still possible to walk in? And yes, absolutely. But it just, obviously, just be prepared to be rejected. It may not be as easy as what my experience was, but it doesn't mean it's not possible.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Just keep showing up.
Yeah, if you keep showing up. And that's how I actually ended up there full time as well, is that I enjoyed being at the dealership and being around the crew there, but I was only once a week, but I would still come in on Saturdays because I was school on the other days of the week. And then I started on my school holidays, I would go in and take photos and just hang around the crew because I like being there. And then after school holidays, they were like, Mikey, where are you today? And I'm like, I'm at school. Like, you guys, I'm not paid to be here. They're like, oh, well, we need to get you on full time. We need you here. And then that's when it happened. And that's my own initiative. Yeah. And that's also my enjoyment as well. I enjoyed being around the cars. I enjoyed being around the people I was working with. I was having fun with my job, and I was doing something that I enjoyed to do. So I think that's where the initiative and, you know, my own, you know, that's sort of why it was working out the way it did, because I was really, trying my absolute best, you know.
Did you know where life was going after the car dealership?
I always said to myself, once I started working there full time, I was like, this is my favorite job. Like, how can it get better than this? And these were nice cars we're talking about. So I was very grateful to be there, because this is one of the nicest dealerships we have maybe in Australia. Yeah. You know, we're talking top of the top kind of cars, like LaFerraris, and certain Bugattis would come through, and just really high-end stuff. So I was very, very lucky to be around all these incredible cars as a car lover as well. Right. So I was always like, I would only ever leave this job if, I don't know, I could get paid to travel the world or something like that, like something ridiculous, or I won the lottery or something like that. And that's when I started making YouTube videos, not about my time working there, because I didn't feel it was like ethical to make vlogs while I was working, but just because of the people I was meeting at the job. And, you know, I'd meet people who would come in and buy these cars, and then, you know, I'd get along with them, and then let's take it out for a photo shoot. I'm going to go drive down Beach Road, or I want to go up to Black Spur. Like, why don't you come along? And even going on the drive days we would do with the customers. So I was sort of creating a network for myself around these people who owned all these nice cars.
Yes.
And then creating little freelance jobs for myself, or even just personal projects around all that.
Yeah. Hit on that word networking there.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't. It was unintentionally networking because I was
right. You probably you don't realize it
didn't
at
even
the
realize
time.
it at the time because I would have been 17, 18, but just saying yes, I want to be around this. Yes, I'll come to the Black Spur. Yes, whatever.
Yeah.
And just slowly building that network, posting the photos onto Instagram. Other people seeing that. Oh, hey, I have a similar car. I want this done. And then that's sort of. That's what I was making YouTube videos about, was the outdoorsy sort of stuff, like where I was taking these cars and where I was positioning them and just the final photos and how it was all sort of working. And then that started to gain a little bit of traction. And I started to actually gain a little bit of a YouTube audience, people actually watching these videos, finding them interesting, because it was a niche job. It was an interesting sort of job. And it was interesting to film and to go behind the scenes about getting all these unique cars in cool locations, and then just trying to get the best sort of photos possible. And that's when I met two other friends, Liam and Hayden, and we all made videos together. Where I met, so I had two other friends who we all wanted to make YouTube videos together, and think that's when it started to really work, because I would be in Liam's videos, Liam would be in Hayden's videos, Hayden would be in my videos, and we'd all make videos about sort of similar things, but with our own photographic style. And that started to really, really take off because we were all cross-pollinating as a team.
Right.
We're all working together as a team.
Isn't that such a great, moment when you can actually collaborate with others, because you do work in your own bubble, right? For the longest
it's
time.
super isolating. Yeah.
But to have that bubble burst and you can actually work with others, it's so refreshing to do that. Yeah,
exactly. Well, I always found as well that I work with Lamont, who helps me film and edit at the moment, but we're not just filming and editing. We're also brainstorming ideas for the next video. And he's really like an extra pair of hands behind the scenes of everything that we do now. And it's not like, it feels like when you get two heads together, it's not like you're working 100% on an idea and they're working 100%. It kind of feels like 400% because you're getting that synergy.
Yes.
And so you feel like you can really 10x with that person because you're bouncing ideas and you're not just sort of writing down a notepad and sort of thinking about it that way. And add a third person who's just as excited about it, and it just feels like, 1600%.
Yes.
You feel like a powerhouse of just ideas and energy that you just want to go out and create something and do something. And we were genuinely friends on camera, off camera, whatever. And then that's really hard to fake.
Yeah.
You got to be a really good actor to fake friendships, like the camera, that's why acting's so commendable, right? Because to fake characters, and you can't fake that shit. You can't fake friendships on camera. You like, if you can't stand being around someone, eventually sooner or later that facade's gonna crack,
Somebody once said on this podcast that success does not happen in a vacuum. And I truly believe that now more so than I ever had before, because whether it's someone to help you with confidence or to help you get another job or to help you with a collaboration, as you were saying, it really is true. Like, success doesn't happen in a vacuum. Do you think working with any of those guys helped you with your confidence as a photographer?
Oh, 100%. I mean, being in front of the camera on YouTube and vlogging on the streets, like, especially when you're a bit younger, you feel invincible. And when you're with your mates, especially like young group of boys, you know, it's like you see it on the street on a Friday, Saturday night, you just feel invincible, when you're with your mates. So when you got the cameras out and you're being silly and stuff, you sort of feel, you have that sense of invincibility when you're vlogging and when you're around your friends. But then to do it on your own is a totally different story. That takes real courage and bravery, because it's especially in 2018, 2019, where vlogging was nowhere near as popular as it is now, especially in Australia. Maybe in other parts of the world it was a bit more common back then still, but in Melbourne specifically, Australia, it was very uncommon to see someone in 2019 walking around the streets just vlogging, and especially doing that by yourself. That's definitely a muscle you have to practice, because everyone is looking at you.
Right.
And you are weird.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Walking
You know,
around the
it's
city,
fun to
talking
walk
by yourself. Yeah.
talking to a camera. It's fine to be on a FaceTime call.
Yeah. Yeah.
No problem at all. As soon as you put a big camera with
Yeah.
a big dead cat on it and the Manfrotto tripod and stuff, and you know what I'm talking about as well. Yeah. It's like it's just weird to look at, you know what I mean? So obviously you're going to get a lot of eyes. And I remember actually watching back some footage every now and again where you'd be vlogging like this, looking at the camera, and then you'd watch back the footage and everyone that walks past you just does one of these. And there's times where, you know, you wake up and you feel a certain way on some days and you just don't feel confidence that's not always guaranteed each day. You know, sometimes you just wake up and you feel like shit, that's fine. And then if you're planning on filming a video that day, and you're by yourself, that can completely change the chemistry of how you do it. And that's when you just got to find, you know, something that your own sort of mantra to psych yourself back into it and be like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to do it anyway, sort of thing.
Have you ever been out doing something like that and you just weren't feeling it and you just told yourself, okay, it's fine to go back home. I'm not feeling it. If I'm not feeling it, it's fine to go back home.
All the time. Not all the time, but absolutely it's happened where we've filmed something, it just hasn't worked. The energy just wasn't there. It just didn't work out for whatever reason. That is so fine. Don't force it. Yeah. Absolutely don't force it. It's probably one of the worst things you can do, because then if you feel like you have to force something that is meant to be fun, you're going to build this weird relationship with it, you know, that's really unhealthy to do. And I've learned that over the years with doing it, because I've tried to stay as consistent as possible with YouTube, because YouTube's one of those platforms where you got to keep feeding the beast. Instagram, I feel like you can take a break on and come back and start just smashing the reels and you'll be fine. But YouTube's one of those platforms where if you stop and you take a long break on it,
people will drop off.
It will drop off. And if you are going to make a comeback, you have to come back guns blazing, fucking akimbo style, like crazy shit to be able to regain and have like a second coming, you know, like a rebirth of the channel needs to come back super strong. So if you can stay consistent, I've tried to consistently, sometimes, you know, I won't post for 3 or 4 weeks, but that's only usually because I'm working on a lot of things in the background. And I think my audience also knows that if I'm a bit quiet for a few weeks, they know a lot is coming. Like I'm sort of building up to something.
Is that a lot of responsibility to think about, to know that maybe your audience
is expecting
something big?
I've never really thought about it, to be honest. I don't know. I definitely have that feeling of guilt if I haven't uploaded something for a week and I feel guilty that I've let people down who were excited for next week's video and there's nothing. But at the same time, you know, I'm now one of two in a team, but for a long time, I'm just one man. And there's sometimes life gets in the way. There's other commitments, you know.
Right, you have to tend to life.
Absolutely. You know, I'm lucky to call this my full-time job now. So each day I can try and work on as much as I can. And now that I've got Lamont helping me as well, so Lamont will be working on a video and I'll simultaneously be working on a different video. So we can both, he'll have a video ready for next week and then I'll have a video ready for the week after usually. And that's how we can work on it. But I have been trying to be consistently upload one video at least every week for the past 7-8 years I've been doing YouTube.
That's pretty impressive. Do you feel like you have to stay in a constant state of creating?
No. Yeah. Not really. There's a few video ideas that I like to do and I'm enjoying doing at the moment. Like we were talking about before, different formats and stuff that I enjoy doing. A lot of them is the battle videos where I get like a piece of shit camera. I give myself a budget and just find the absolute shittest camera I can. For example, we used a Nintendo DS once that I had to take photos with. And my competitor or player 2 was someone who's not most of the time very inexperienced or has never used a professional camera before or my professional camera setup. And we give them the professional Sony setup or something like that. And they have to use that in a battle against me. So we usually do like a 2-round or 3-round sort of thing. And we try and take the best photo we can. And I really enjoy making those videos because it's just so much fun. It's so much fun. And that's like we were saying about before, that's when you get to work with other people as well. And you have that that friendly competition as well, which is really fun. So there's certain formats and stuff that I enjoy doing. And maybe over time, you know, I try to mature you know, as I grow and as I learn things and as my channel changes and as I mature, I feel like my audience matures with me. Some people leave, some people come. That's fine. But if there's certain types of videos I want to make, then we'll sort of we'll just sort of see how that sort of works over the next few months or years. We just sort of see where it goes. You know, I like to go with the flow. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Do you fall into the trap of comparing yourself to others?
Yes and no. I find that when there's someone in your industry, like I can't just say no because that's just bullshit, right? Of course you do. But I think I've gotten better at just separating that. And I like to get a lot of my inspiration now from different types of industries. So especially the YouTube videos, I watch a lot of car channels, even some cooking channels. Now I'm getting a bit older. I'm starting to cook for myself a bit more. Cooking channels. There's Cooking with Babish. He does really cool sort of stuff and try to take ideas for my YouTube videos. But YouTube and photography are two super different worlds for me. And I have to be able to split both them because there's the YouTube video, which is entertainment. And that needs to be entertaining around the idea of the photo shoot. But the photography sort of side, my personal projects might be like, I want to, I don't know, set a car on fire, you know? And so how do I do it? And that's like the photo I want to take. But then the YouTube element is, okay, we want to set a car on fire, but what happens in the video to make that happen? So they're kind of two different things that are happening at the same time in my head. There's the photo shoot elements of my personal projects and what kind of photos do I want to take and where do I want to go with that? And then there's the YouTube side of it. How do we make this into a video, basically?
Right. What is the craziest photo you've ever taken or the craziest shoot you've ever been on?
Recently, I can't say anything else but the Koenigsegg 1-to-1 shoot I was able to go on, which if you don't know is a very, very extremely rare car. They only built 6 of them in the world. And I was invited to come to Spain and photograph one with on a separate campaign with a house. It was a massive villa. To give you some context, Cristiano Ronaldo used to have a house in this area, fully gated community. You had to basically go through like a passport control to go to this area of Spain. So you drive up this mountain road and then you would get to pretty much like a border control. I'm not even joking, boom gates and everything. And you drive up, park in the parking lot, get out, get your passport, your IDs, everything. Go to this box where you're basically just looking at yourself because it's all tinted glass. And then a hand just comes out. Give me your passport. Okay. Give random Spanish bloke in there my passport, and then they'll do some checks on you. They'll give it back, and then you can go in to this gated community. And they have to know that you're coming. So I was on the white list because the real estate agent and the marketing manager for that real estate agent company knew, like they already, knew that I was going to be there. Or they had hired me for the job, but they obviously told the area, the security area that I was coming. So that's why I was approved to be there. But you can't just walk in off the street and just expect them to give your ID. If they don't know you're coming, you're not getting let in. Because obviously there's some really high caliber people living in this gated community. Anyway, so there's this house there and they basically hired me for the job because they wanted, content creators to be there and photograph and just help advertise the house, but in their own way. And I was like, to be honest, guys, like beautiful house, but I don't really care about the house. I don't really photograph houses, no matter how nice it is, which it was very nice. It was like something you'd see like that Hollywood house. It's always that beautiful big white house and it's got that infinity pool that looks over the hills. It was like that, but just in Spain. And they had this huge 14-car garage and just filled with just awesome cars. And that's what I was there for, is to shoot the cool cars that came with the house. And we were able to like go out and then take the car out for some rolling shots and drive it around the gated community street. So we had the whole area to ourselves. So we had this awesome car, awesome location, authorized to be there. No one's interrupting us. Beautiful view of all the, Spanish highlands and then out to the ocean. And couldn't really complain with that.
That's incredible. Yeah. You painted a really nice picture there of that experience.
But thank you.
When you're on a job like that, do you have a moment? Do you take a moment to pinch yourself and say, oh my God, like look where I am at the moment? Or do you wait until after the job is complete?
No, I was freaking out. I was definitely freaking out.
So you take it in, you live in the present.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I think I've become quite good at just trying to film my honest reactions.
Right.
The camera is sort of just an extension when I'm on these kind of jobs now, and I'm just it's been a few years now doing it where you can sort of just talk to the cameras. If
Yeah.
I'm just talking to just explaining it to my dad, for example, one of my mates back home. That's how I try and talk to the camera. Try and make it as personal as possible. Yeah. It was definitely really crazy to be there. I let everyone know that for sure. But then afterwards as well, I feel like I kind of express it more in the moment than thinking about it now. And looking back on it now, it was insane. But I definitely was more appreciative in that moment because now that it's passed. Yeah.
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 Do you
I
think
feel accomplished is what I'm trying to say.
No,
I've done it now. Yeah.
Do you think you've ever hit a brick wall as a creative?
COVID was definitely a really hard time
Yeah.
as a creative, but also a really good time as a creative, depending on which way you looked at it. Because a lot of people are at home, a lot of people are online, a lot of people looking for a new hobby to do. And photography is one of those things where it's super isolating as it is already, right? So it was actually a great time for the photography industry. I still haven't been able to have a time on YouTube where it was better than than COVID in terms of just views and people watching the channel and just people interested in photography. COVID was one of the best times to be a content creator, but at the same time, one of the hardest because there were so many restrictions, couldn't meet up with other creatives and help, make bigger and better videos. A lot of travel restrictions. So doing like different kind of, he had to get very, very creative, like a lot of home sort of stuff, a lot of local nature and park sort of stuff of where you could sort of go within the radius of where you were. And that sort of started to drive me a bit nuts. And I really struggled with trying to continue the show in that sense of how do I continue to make videos of something that I really want to go and travel and go experience all these places, but I just can't.
Can't do any of this.
And you're just told no, like you're not gonna be able to do it. So I actually ended up getting a permit, which I failed my first 2 attempts because there was so many restrictions and paperwork around it. But Australia wasn't letting anyone in or out of the country.
Right.
So I had to get a permit. On my 3rd attempt, I finally got the permit to leave Australia and I moved to Europe for a year and a half because they had just less restrictions than Australia did. So I was like, I need to get out and I need to continue doing what I'm doing. Otherwise, this might be it. If I can't figure out a way to make this fun for myself and enjoyable, then I'm not gonna, like I said, I can't force it. I really can't force it. If I don't want to do something, I'm not gonna do it. It doesn't matter how much you try and psych yourself into it. And that's what was working in COVID. That was my brick wall. Yeah.
Have you found that people that you know or people you don't know have reached out to you, they've seen the content that you've made and say, I want to follow in your footsteps, and they actually go out and start creating their own stuff? Have you had anyone say that to you?
Yeah, quite a few people actually said that to me when I was on my recent travels in Poland and Goodwood. I was overwhelmed with how many people came up to me and said, "Love your videos. You're the reason. You're my inspiration. You're the reason I got into photography," and just thanked me. And it's just wild to me to still. It'll never be normal.
How do you?
It'll never be normal.
Yeah.
It'll never be normal. That is just, for me, that's just the craziest thing that I can be here in Melbourne, make videos, to just talk about my experience and my photo shoots and whatever. Like, put that online, and then someone completely on the other side of the world is watching that, and you kind of disassociate because I'm not on the other side really of watching, of what that's like. I'm not there with the person that is watching it and how they're reacting to it and how that works. It's a super hard thing to explain actually, but knowing that, getting to meet someone, no matter how far or how close or far away they are from me, but knowing someone on the other side of the world is watching something that I made and getting inspired and going out there and shooting, it's just like, that's got to be one of the coolest things ever. Like, yeah, I was so happy to hear that. Yeah, I was like, my jaw and my cheeks were like sore at the end of the day because I was just smiling so much.
It is such a strange thing, isn't it? Like, I've had a lot of uni students reach out to me over the course of doing this podcast. And
yeah, right. Yeah.
People who are going to places like Whopper or NIDA, because I have a lot of actors on this show who that's a school to go to if you want to become an actor. And it's just so happens that a lot of uni students have reached out who are currently in uni. They've reached out and said, "Oh, listen to this podcast and actually get something out of it." Like, I still don't know how to
Where to put
take that. Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, yeah, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
New podcast next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. It's not a normal thing that most people will go through, but I guess it is becoming a bit more normal now. That's another thing we were talking about before, hey, is that becoming a content creator and doing content is becoming a really, really oversaturated market.
Right.
And yeah, how do you stand out and how do you be different? And when you know that someone's actually listened to what you said and taken that on board and felt inspired, or it's benefited them in some way, shape, or form, is that not just the best thing ever to hear?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Do you read comments online?
Yeah, when I can. Yeah, I try to get back to as many people as I can on Instagram and YouTube, but at the same time, not really. It can be a bit of a cesspool.
Yes.
I don't really take it, you can't really take in a good comment and a bad comment. Because if you're always thinking about, I need these good comments and everyone's giving me a nice comment, and then someone leaves you a negative comment, for some reason the human mind is just wired this way. But if someone leaves you a bad comment, you forget the 20, 30 nice comments you got and you focus on that one bad comment because you're getting criticized for what you do.
Yes.
And not everyone's going to like you. It's just as simple as that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you do, who you are, where you are. It's just as simple as that. And then if you're getting hate comments and you're getting that, it means that you're reaching a new audience of people who don't usually watch your sort of stuff. But if they're leaving not nice comments, I don't want them watching my videos anyway. Right. It's
and also if it's just not constructive at all.
But that's just the internet to a T, is it not? That's just what's going to happen. Yeah. So it's comments are great. Obviously, I try to respond to as many as I can. But honestly, I'm just working on the next video most of the time. Yeah.
If there's someone who's genuinely giving you, like a peer of yours, who's genuinely giving you a critique on a piece of work, a YouTube video, a photo, whatever it is, do you take that on board initially, or do you, brush it off and take offense by it?
No, of course not. I think if one of my close mates was saying, if it was becoming a problem where he was like, which this is not the case, but I think if one of your friends was like, hey man, I think you should consider this, I think you'd definitely take that on board. Yeah. And see how it could work for you first before just doing what they say is good for you. Because at the end of the day, I know how to run my videos better than anyone.
Right.
Because it's my channel. But at the same time, if someone's got a good advice to me, like, hey, have you thought about this? Oh, no, I haven't thought about that actually. Thank you. You can take that on board. But because there's sometimes some of my mates have said, oh, do this, just try it for me. Just, try this title, try this video, or try this idea. And it's just completely flopped and bombed. It's like, well, then I can rule that out and be like, well, you were actually wrong. And just let me take the wheel and let me just run my show. But then at the same time, if someone's got good criticism for you, if it's like, look, I liked all these parts of your videos, but I was kind of getting a bit bored here. It's like, okay, fair enough. And I'll consider that for next time and how can I improve? So I'm always obviously trying to improve and make my videos better, more entertaining, and just in any sort of aspect of my life, really. You're always trying to improve. So not necessarily, it doesn't have to be YouTube videos. It can be other aspects of life as well. But I'm definitely not ignorant to the fact that if my mate is going to if he's going to give me criticism on something that I want to do, I'll definitely take it on board. Yeah.
Yeah, I think initially when I started getting critiques from people, I think I was more of I was in the headspace of, what do you mean? Right? But
how can I what do you mean I can do something bad?
But okay. Now I'm more in the headspace of like, oh, actually maybe they're right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think this is a huge problem with a lot of content creators as well, is that you're obviously biased to your own opinion and what you think is good. But what you think is good may not actually be good, but obviously you're going to think it's good because it's your idea. Yeah. And I think I see that with a lot of people trying to start a YouTube channel, is that it's really hard to start a YouTube channel and make people sort of give a fuck. Yes. A lot of people really don't give a fuck. So how do you make it interesting, and how do you actually make a good video? How do you actually make good content? And if you're always just, tunnel vision and just completely biased all the time, thinking of your own ideas and not taking anything else and not taking any other criticism, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
suck. And if you can't make good content on YouTube specifically, it's really on Reels and TikTok, it's so different because you could upload something that's like completely shit,
Right.
and it will do well. But on YouTube, you're spending so much more time with someone, and if you suck, then you suck. There's not really a lot to like fix that. There's no real band-aid for that, you know? So like you could do everything wrong on YouTube. You get your title wrong, you get any tags and thumbnail and anything like that, intro, outro, whatever, like the way your whole video flows. But if it's actually good to watch and something's interesting, but it's like, you know, it's a bit rough around the edges, there's a chance. But if your content sucks and you think you have the best title and you get the best thumbnail and you think you do everything right, but if it actually is not great to watch, then it's not going to go anywhere.
Right.
Yeah, whether it's the opposite for Instagram and Reels. Not the opposite, but doesn't quite apply the same way. Yeah.
Do you take moments to look back at your earlier work and think, oh, look how far I've come?
I can't wait to be an old man.
Yeah.
And just go through all the memories.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's so cool to be able to go through some of the videos, and even sometimes when I'm making a new video and refer to something else and just go back and just, you forget little things and little jokes or quirks or something of that day or a fond memory you have, and then you remembered something else, but because you have this video evidence of what happened, it's not like a photo.
Right.
It's like videos. So it's so different. Like if I get to show my kids one day when I'm telling, oh, dad once, you know, I was up in the snow and I did this or what, I climbed this mountain, but hang on, I'll just get the video up, and then they can to be able to show my kids one day a video of what their dad did would be, that's going to be super weird, I think. But that stuff like that really excites me, and that's what it makes me really happy to make YouTube videos. Is I've got this like
it's time capsule
video, 10 to 15 minute time capsules, you know, on there. Yeah, so that's like a different way of looking at just photos. It's just one frame, and then you remember the story the way that you remembered it around how that photo, when it was taken and who you were with. Like that's why film photography is so great, right? You get a little present at the end of your roll, and then once you get it developed, and you remember all these little things that happened when you took that shot. But then now imagine having a video of when it all happened. So yeah, I love looking back on some of the old stuff. It's just it's become a bit timeless, and some iconic moments there for sure.
I've got a few photographer friends, and I like asking this question of them because I hear over and over again people, just, you know, civilians say, oh, I can take a good photo on my phone. What do you think when you hear people say that, when you know that, you know, good photos can't really be taken on phones?
I actually disagree there. I think a lot of good photos can be taken on a phone. And I actually have taken a lot of good photos that I like on my phone. Obviously, I prefer to use my camera.
Right.
But I definitely, phones, especially nowadays, can definitely take a good photo. I think it comes down to experience, though. I think it comes down to experience, and a lot of it actually comes down to just composition and lighting. Because if phones specifically don't have enough lighting to work with, they're dog shit. But if you can get good lighting, you know, like a nice sunrise on a mountain, and then you take a landscape shot on your phone and your camera, if you start to zoom in, you can see a lot of detail differences. But sometimes there's some instances where it's really hard to tell the difference between a phone and a camera on certain pictures. At nighttime, it gets a lot different. But I think when someone takes a photo on their phone, the reason why it probably sucks is because they just suck at photography.
Right.
So the photography is like made up of, your composition and your lighting. A lot of it's really made up of those two things. Yeah.
The only reason I ask that is because the photographers I know get frustrated when they hear people say, I can take just as good a photo on my phone.
Yeah. Well, the average person probably can't. No. And if someone's looking at like some beautiful wedding shots, it's taken on like a beautiful 85mm nice bokeh in the background. No phone is doing that. Doesn't matter how good phones get. No phone can, like, you're telling me your fucking iPhone is compared to my Sony A7R5 with an 85mm on it. No, there's just no chance. It's not the same. It's just not the same. But then there's certain, like, if you have a wide angle lens on and you just take a photo of the street. If I just walk downstairs right now and take a photo of the alleyway just like that, and then do the same on my camera, might not be a whole lot of difference there. So it's really very contextual, like and subjective on what exactly we're talking about here, what kind of photos we're talking about, and where it was shot. Yeah, but it doesn't mean it's not impossible. Yeah.
When you go out and take photos, do you know what you're going to take a photo of before you take a photo of it?
Most times now, unless I'm taking street photos, yes. Most photo shoots are pretty, well, I wouldn't say thoroughly planned. I would say what's thoroughly planned now, especially with a lot of the automotive stuff I do now, what's thoroughly planned is the crew that I'm going with, who I'm coming with, what car we're taking as the camera car, our gear list, which car we're shooting, what location we're at, what are the 3 main locations we're shooting or 2 main locations, what backup locations are we going to, what time of day, what kind of photos we're going for, is there a mood board planned? Things like that are pretty in-depth.
A mood board?
Yeah, we use a lot of mood boards.
Right.
I like to use a lot of mood boards now. I've actually found this is not sponsored, but I found a new website called Cosmos. I think it's Cosmos.
Right.
It's like a photographer's Pinterest. So it's a really artsy, bit more moody, a bit more emotional Pinterest. I've been using Cosmos now.
Right.
You can type in whatever idea. And
It sounds like a magazine, or something.
yeah, true. Yeah, it does. Yeah, I get a lot of inspo and build mood boards from particular types of photo shoots. And what my missus actually, because she's a photographer as well, what she does is she makes a mood board of her shoot and sets it as a wallpaper on her phone. So whenever she is forgets what sort of directions she's going on, she can just open up her phone and be like, oh yeah. And that sort of helps it gives you a sort of, it grounds you, a bit of a base to work as a photographer, is to remember okay, I'm actually going for this kind of style, which can help. But sometimes on a lot of other photo shoots, they've been completely off the cuff, not planned whatsoever, no expectations. Therefore, nothing can go wrong. If you have no expectations, nothing can go wrong, right? And if you gain anything out of it, it's a win. Where if you plan a whole photo shoot and things go wrong all the time. And now I've gotten to a stage where I actually plan for things to go wrong, like with a backup location, or the car breaks down with a lot of these classic cars, Alfa Romeos, but there's a whole bunch of different problems that could happen. And then sometimes you finish the photo shoot and go, I wish that could have gone a lot better.
Right.
Where there's a lot of times where photo shoots have gone on and I just haven't planned whatsoever, and they've just been super last minute. Recently, I shot in a thunderstorm. There was a thunderstorm coming out of nowhere. And I called up my mate Richie, who's got this awesome red Lamborghini. And I was like, can we bring your car out in a thunderstorm right now? And he goes, yeah, let's do it. And we rocked up, shot for an hour and a half in the thunderstorm while it was bucketing rain. And I got some of my favorite photos ever. So sometimes it happens within, you shoot for an hour and you just get some of your best photos you've taken. Sometimes I've shot for half a day and I'm like, I hate everything.
Yeah.
It's just, it can depend. It can really change every time. But what I think I always comes back to what I love about photography is it is a bit of an addiction now for me, because I'm taking photos and I'm going on photo shoots. And if I fail, or I feel like I failed, because I know what standard I hold myself to, and if I feel like I haven't achieved that, then I chase that.
Yeah,
I know I can do better. I can do better. I want to do better. And by doing better, it fulfills me. And then I get the itch again. And I want to go out and do better again. And I think I'm always on this sort of strive for perfection, really. But it's not possible. So it's like you always can do better and better. And I think that's just the type of person I am as well.
Yeah.
Is that I always want the next thing and want to do better than what I did. And I'm always raising the bar for myself.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you look back at your previous work, is that what you say to yourself when you go into a new job then? Like, I need to raise the bar than what it was on the previous job?
Sometimes there's some photos where I just don't even think I'll be able to replicate. It just happened in that time where everything just worked out the way it did. And even the way I edited the photo and the way it happened and the conditions that we got just cannot ever be replicated again.
Yeah.
And but then that's great because I've done it. You know what I mean? I get to look back and be like, I did it.
Right.
and it's done. And then I get to have those photos. But in terms of, if I get it, like I did a job for Hyundai about a year and a bit ago. And if they called me again, I'd be a bit nervous, because I'd be like, I know I set a really high standard for those photos. and they were really happy with those photos, and I was really happy with those photos. So now if they want another job for me, I'm like, I need to make sure it's as good, if not better. They're probably expecting better, you know?
Yeah.
So that can sort of give me a lot of anxiety. And on top of that, especially like with a brand like Hyundai, they pay you to do it. So then now you're getting paid to be creative, which is a really
rare thing.
Yeah, it's a rare thing, and it's a really interesting dynamic, and it's a battle. It's a mindset battle because now that you're being paid to do what you do in your creative style or whatever, I kind of feel forced sometimes. Sometimes it's better for me to not be paid, and I'll actually do a better job,
right?
Because I'm like, I'm not worried about trying to make this for money. Then I'm not doing anything for money. And I'm just focusing on making it good because I want to make it good, rather than having an expectation and make a client has paid you to do a job, and then you kind of then fall into this, I fall into this mindset of I need to make sure I do a good job because I'm getting paid to do a good job, so I must do a good job, and you get all sort of stressed, and you can't be loose and feel as free.
Right.
And that's like what we were talking about, like a confidence muscle before. That's like its own sort of muscle to practice, and being like, once you sort of start to make it your job, you're like, okay, I should be getting paid for this. I should be getting paid for my time as a creative. So I feel a bit more comfortable with this. And you sort of have like set levels and bases for yourself and what's sort of natural and normal. But definitely working with Hyundai was like my first really big job where I did a big commercial job, like billboard sort of style. And it's like, I need to make sure that these are the best of the best. Otherwise they're going to be like, who the fuck is this guy?
Right.
We're giving this guy all this money and he sucks. That's the last thing that you want,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And also, you need to think of the next thing as well. Like, okay, people are going to hire me now, but I need to make sure people hire me again as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Something I like to touch on in this podcast is the negative stories that we sometimes tell ourselves during the course of our lives and careers. For me, I did speech therapy for the longest time when I was in primary school and into some of high school. So growing up into my 20s, I would always get so self-conscious whenever I talk to people. Like, am I talking too fast? Am I sounding articulate? Am I tripping over my words? Right. And I found like that negative story that I kept, telling myself is not doing me any good. So I had to place it to one side and not think about it. Now I'm here, like talking to people on a regular basis. But talking to people previously was so terrifying to me because I was running that negative story over and over again in my head. Is there a negative story that you've told yourself over your life and career as a, content creator that you've had to put to one side?
Not really something I can think of off the top of my head, really. I've always thought with my work, and I don't mean to sound arrogant here, but I think it's just in my, like I talked about before, it's in my nature to... I just know this about myself, that I try to push myself against myself. Right. So I guess that in its own way can be negative because maybe that's seen as unhealthy to constantly have to push yourself for perfection. Even though I'm not a perfectionist, but I like to strive to that 99% level of with my photography work. Maybe not with other things in my life that probably need more attention, but maybe in terms of the creative and the photography work, I never thought I couldn't do it. Basically, is what I'm trying to get at. Is when working at the car dealership, and if I wanted to be, I knew I could do something and push myself to do it, and I knew that I could do it, and I just had that dog in me. You know what I mean? And I think for a lot of people listening, in terms of that, again, I don't mean to be rude, but I think a lot of people listening who want to make something for themselves and they want to get out there and push themselves and get to this sort of higher level. A lot of people will make a lot of excuses to not get there. And if there's 100 people listening right now, maybe, 90 of them actually, even less, maybe 10, 20 of them actually listen to what I just said. And maybe 1 or 2 of them, or 0 to 1 to 2 of them actually will go ahead and do something, and actually take action on their life and in order to get somewhere, because you have that first sort of initial initial, like, it's like a bell curve. You have that initial, when you start something like a business or you, like what we were talking about before, right? When you took over this podcast and it was exciting and new. And then it's like, oh, great, this is awesome. I'm having so much fun with this. And then it starts to die off because it starts to feel like work.
Right.
And it is work. It's hard to run something for yourself and to continue. Do you have that ability within yourself? Are you going to crack, or do you work well under pressure, and can you push yourself through that to get to the next level? And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I've found, a lot of people have a tendency to procrastinate on ideas, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they don't take the action needed. They'll say, yes, I want to do that, but
for sure,
will they actually
It'll
make
actually
a plan
take
to
action.
do it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that really just comes down, and you know deep down if you're going to do it or not. And I feel like there's a lot of things that if I actually internally tell myself I'm going to do it, it gets done.
Yeah.
I just know that about myself now, that I have that in me to do that.
Do you feel like you need to put that out into the world? Like if you say you're going to do something to just people in general, you then have to hold yourself accountable and actually go and do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like I need to, if I say I'm going to do something, I need to follow through with something, and I need to at least try, even if it sucks, even if it sucks and it turned out to be shit and it fails. At least I tried and I gave it 110% of what I know I could do. And that's better to me than just giving up and just finding some excuse to not make it work.
Yeah.
And at least I know if I tried to do something and it failed, I'm not really failing because I know that I've got other experiences from that. For example, to not do that again if it's failed or something.
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah, as long as I've tried and I know I've tried and I've given it 110%, at least I can walk away with saying that I tried, and it's not all over.
Is there something as a photographer you haven't done yet and you want to do?
I really want to shoot in more. I have done it, but I want to do more of it. I really want to shoot more on the snow, more snow stuff. And I find that really hard as an Australian to get into the snow more because we get such little of it here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And if you want to get closer to the snow, you have to basically go snowboarding here, which kind of sucks. And it's like a whole thing to do. And then when it's snowing everywhere else in the world, it's summer here, and I want to enjoy summer here. So kind of you got to make a decision there. Yeah. But I definitely want to shoot more in the snow. Whatever that looks like, I'm happy to explore that in any which way. But yeah.
Man, I'm going to have to get you back on in the future because we have to wrap up soon. It's been great. Like you know, it takes a while to get into these conversations, right? And like once you get into them, you want to talk more. But
absolutely.
No, this been such a great chat. I'll start to wrap up soon. But the name North Borders, how did that come about?
So it's not really anything like, doesn't have some profound meaning. Yeah. But a long time ago on Instagram, it's so different now that I say it to what it is now. But a long time ago on Instagram, it was considered cool to have a second persona, like graffiti. You'd have a tag or a name that's different to yourself, and you would be completely anonymous, which is so different to how it is now. You want to be known of who it is. Maybe it could actually work. Maybe that's an angle someone could take, is just to be completely anonymous, not know like a Banksy. You know what I mean? It was cool. It was cool to be like Banksy, but on Instagram. Yeah. It was cool to be this photographer who just took these amazing photos and no one knew who took them, who was behind them, what the name was, what it meant, anything. But there was just like these amazing photos, street shots, whatever it could have been. And there was a lot of photographers that I followed: Trash Hand, 13th Witness, Night Shift. Just that's the ones I can remember off the top of my head. I want a cool name as well. Like I want a cool name like 13th Witness. I want a cool name like Trash Hand. I need to figure out like a cool Instagram name for myself because I'm going to start taking photos. So I'm going on like word generators and all this shit. I'm trying to figure out my username. Would have been like 14, 15, like in my room, like trying to figure out my name. And then I was on Facebook one day and I was just, scrolling whatever. And I saw these guys, they'd gone on this road trip with their cars, and they were on, I think it was like Switzerland or Austria or something. And they had taken a photo where it was the yellow line splitting the countries. And it was 3 cars on one side of the yellow line and 3 cars on the other side. So like obviously one side of the country and the other side of the country. And the caption was, "We took this north of the border." And I was like, north of the border, North Borders. Oh, it kind of sounds cool.
Right.
Yeah, I'll go with that. That's my name, North Borders. So I go on Instagram and change my name to North Borders. There's already a photographer called
Damn
North
it.
Borders. And I was like, God damn it, I guess I'll be North Borders _ I just completely,
They'll do it.
completely ripped this guy's
yeah.
name. And anyway, after a few months, you know on Instagram, I don't know if it's still the feature now, but a long time ago, if you searched up someone's name on Instagram and they had changed their name, Instagram still knows who you're looking for, but they'll show you the profile of that person with their new name. I don't know if you know what I mean by that, but anyway, this North Borders guy, he had changed his name to AV Mark II or something like that. And I was like, oh, sweet as, username's free. Took the underscore off, put the S on, and I was like, I'm fucking North Borders. There we go.
Great.
And that's how it came. Yeah, that's how it came together. Yeah.
One last question, and this question I always end on.
Yeah, sure.
What are the words of wisdom you live by?
Have a shit one. No, that's not really true. I don't know. Just guess. Everyone's guessing out there. Yeah. Everyone just gets better at making better guesses. So just keep guessing.
Mike, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
No worries.
I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah,
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
That's great. That went by so fast.
Yeah. Wow, that was an hour.
Yeah.
You always